Hi everyone, in this video we are going to discuss how to create an array in Numpy using arange function. Arange is actually one of the array creation routines. We have a lot of other array creation routines like arrays, zeros, ones or linspace like that. So arange is very commonly used array creation routine, and that is generating a set of numbers just like range function in Python basics, and it is converting them into an array and returning a reference to the array creator. So what is a reference? Reference is actually it's a pointer to the array generated, and it is a pointer to the memory location where from that array is stored in the memory. Now it is accepting start and end. That means it is accepting a range and it is generating the values in that array within that range. Now let us discuss the syntax of arange function. So arange is actually called by using a numpy alias name or numpy object, and here this np.arange is having four parameters: start, end, step and data type. So start is actually the first value in the array, then end is actually the last value in the array. But when you are having end in your parameter, that end is not going to be there in the range of values generated in your array. So if you are giving a particular value, for example 10 as end value, then it will generate the numbers from start till end minus 1. So end is not at all included. So if you want to have end value also in your range, for example if you want to have the 10 also in your range of values generated in that array, you have to provide 11. So you have to provide end plus 1 to get the end to be included in the range of values generated or the set of values generated by arange function. And next one is the step. Step is actually a value that is or a number that is going to be added with the current value or current number in that array to get the next number. By default it is 1. If you are omitting a step value, by its default value is actually 1. And last one is dtype. Dtype is the type of elements or the data type of the elements in the given or generated array. So default is none, but you can specifically mention a particular type. If you are omitting the type, then arange function will assess the types of other parameters, especially the start and end, and it will assume a data type for your array. Now let us move to the program. So if you want to use arange function, then you have to import numpy package into your program, and it should be given an alias name. So import numpy. So import numpy. Then when you are importing numpy, you have to provide an alias name. So alias name is like given like as, then alias name for example np. So import numpy as np. So np is actually the alias name for import. Sorry, numpy. Now what's next is you can call the numpy arange function by using alias name np, then dot arange. Then it accepts four values. Let me assume that the start value is 1 and end values, for example I want to generate 16 numbers. I want to generate 16 numbers, and 16 numbers means from 1 till 16. So I have to provide 16 as a end value. But if I provide 16 as end value, then it will generate only up to 16 minus 1 as we saw in the description. So if you want to have 16 also in the set of values generated by this arange function, you have to provide 17. Now next one is step value. Step value is actually the value that is added with the current element and to get the next element. So for example, if I provide 2 as a step value, then from the first value 1, 2 will be added. So 1 plus 2 3, then 3 plus 2 5, then 5 plus 2 7. So it's a number added with the current value generated to get the next number in that array, right? And last one is the data type. Let me assume that it is integer. So integer is a built-in data type in Python, and let my array elements are of type integer. So once this arange is called, this arange is actually creating the array from with the numbers from 1 to 17 minus 1, that is 16, with the step value 2. That means 1 plus 2 3, 3 plus 2 5. So 1 3 5 7 9 up to it will generate up to 17 minus 1, that is 16, but 16 is not the number that is going to be there when you are adding 1 sorry 2 step value, so it will generate up to 15. Okay, it will generate up to 15. Now it is returning the reference, so let us collect that reference in a variable, for example arr. So arr is actually it's like an object that is denoting your array, right? And it's of type nd array that we will discuss okay when we are displaying the output. And now let us print the type of the array. So print type of array name is arr, right? Now let us print it. So run the program. You see it is displaying the type of the array. There is nothing but nd array. So in Python, all the arrays created, or especially in Numpy, all the arrays created are actually the object of the class nd array in Numpy. So your your array data type is actually nd array. So your array is actually of object of nd array class. Now how to print it? Let me print it just like this. So print of then array name. That's all. Just like it. Okay. Now let us run it. And here it is displaying the elements in that array. So first value is 1. Then to get the second value from the first value, you add step value 2. So 1 plus 2 3. Now again to get the next value, add 3 aside 2. Then 3 plus 2 5. Then plus 2 7. It's going like that, and it's going generating only up to 15. And if you are adding one more, that means plus 2, then it will give 17. But 17 is the end value. End value will not be included in your data numbers generated in your array, so it will generate only up to 15. So this is how arange is working. Suppose if I want to have float values in your array, so you can provide directly here the numbers are actually float, right? For example, let me check it. Right here I am giving float, and let us run the code. It is generating all the float values. So 1 point, 3 point, 5 point, 7 point, 9 point, 11 point, 13 point, and 15 point. But it's not only the way. I can just omit this dtype here. Okay, I can omit this dtype here. At the same time, I can provide any one of the parameters in form of float. For example, 17.0. Now, if you are omitting that dtype in your arange call, then it will assess the types of other parameters you provided. If any one is a float, then the array elements will be of type float. Let us run it again. It is generating all the float values in the given range, right? And that is assessing the data type or deciding the data type by assessing the data types of the parameters provided. So here one is float, so array elements are of type float. Now let us move to the next one. For example, let me create an array of 16 elements, that means from 1 to 16, and if I omit the step value, what will happen? If I omit the step value, what will happen? So by default, the step value is actually 1. If you are omitting the step value, default step value is 1. So it will generate values from 1 to 17 minus 1, that is 16. Okay, in a consecutive fashion, that means 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, up to 16 it will generate. So let us check that. So let us run the code. You see it is generating all the consecutive numbers. So if you are omitting the step value, 1 is the default step value. Now what's next is, let me skip or omit any one of these parameters. Now there is only one parameter provided, and arange will assume it is either as start or end or step, right? So let us check it. Let us run the code. It is generating range of numbers from 0 till 17 minus 116. So 17 is assumed as the end value. 17 is assumed as the end value. At the same time, 0 is assumed as the start value. So if you omit the start value, it's not an issue. It will assume 0 as the start value, right? Now let me omit this value also, right? So there is no parameter. Let me check what it is doing. It's showing an error, missing required argument start. So if you are not providing any argument, then it will expect at least one argument in your arange call, right? So now here let me give 1 comma 16. or 17 again to get the array generated with numbers from 1 to 16. Now it is generating from 1 to 16. Okay, so this is what actually the optional parameters. One parameter is minimum required, and that will be assumed as n parameter or n value, right? Now next thing is I generated 16 values here in that array, and they are in the single dimension. So that means they are in the same dimension or in a single row. But I want to convert it into a matrix, for example. Okay, so here 16 elements are there, so I want to convert it into a matrix of size 4 by 4. So 4 by 4 means 4 cross 4, 16 elements will be there, and I want to uh, convert this array of 16 elements into 4 by 4 matrix, right? Then how can I do it? Is there are two ways. One is, after creating the array, I can shape this array into a matrix by assigning some values to the shape attribute of the array. So shape attribute is actually it's accepting a tuple. Tuple means collection of integer values separated by comma and enclosed within parentheses as its value, and every number provided in the tuple is actually the number of elements going to be there in the dimension. For example, if I assume that there are two dimensions for my matrix, so row and columns, right? If I provide 4 comma 4, then first 4 is denoting the number of rows and second 4 is denoting the number of columns. So it will make my, or it will shape my array created with 16 elements from 1 to 16 as a 4 by 4 matrix. So how can I do it? Is let me access array shape attribute by using the array object name equal to, then I have to provide the dimension or the number of elements in every dimension in a tuple form within set of parentheses separated by comma. So let me give 4 by 4, 4 comma 4. That means there are 4 rows and 4 columns. Now this array is shaped into a matrix, that means 4 by 4 matrix. So 4 rows and 4 columns will be there. And now let us print it again. So if you see it, you can see your 16 element array is actually formed or shaped as a matrix of size 4 by 4. So you can access the shape attribute and you can assign its value, and you can make or you can shape your array as a matrix or into any form of given dimension. Now one important thing is there is a parameter or attribute called size. That means the number of elements in your array. So the number of elements in your array is actually accessed by using the size attribute of your array, right? So the size attribute is nothing but the product of the number of elements in all the dimensions. That means here it is 4 and 4. So 4 by 4, 4 into 4, it is 16. So it is a product of the elements or values given for shape. That is called as actually size. Let us print it. So print arr dot size. So we know that there are 16 elements, but you have to know the purpose or behavior of this size attribute in your array, right? This is denoting the number of elements in that array, right? And it is a product of values provided in the shape attribute. Now you see it is printing the size, the number of elements in that array. It is 16. Then the next one is the array is printed as it is. So is that the only way to shape your array into a matrix? No, we have another provision. We can call a function called reshape. This reshape will accept again the same tuple values. That means a set of non-negative integer values, and that can be used to shape your array into matrix. So we will discuss this reshape function in the next video. So keep on practicing. Happy programming. Thank you.